Hi, my name's Chaz and you're watching Chaz's Languages. In this video, you'll learn word order, noun gender, indefinite and definite articles, and the plural in Norwegian. Hi you guys, thank you for watching and welcome to the second Norwegian lesson here on Chaz's Languages. In today's video, you'll learn sentence word order, noun gender, indefinite and definite articles, and how to form the plural of nouns. So first, we'll start off with Norwegian sentence word order. Now in Norwegian, the word order in sentences is rather strict, whereas in some languages such as Finnish, which I also teach on the channel, the word order is pretty flexible. In Norwegian, it's pretty strict, but there is some variation and it has some flexibility. And I'll go over the different kinds of sentence word order in Norwegian. So the first kind of word order, which is the normal kind of word order, is subject in the first place, then the verb, then the adverb or negation, the object, then the place adverb, and then lastly, the time adverb. Now obviously all sentences don't have all these elements in them, but this is just a guideline for if a sentence did have each one of these parts in it, then this is where they would go in a sentence. So I'll go over a few examples. The first example is with the sentence Jeg kan kjøpe og så det der borte. And this means in English, I can also buy it over there. So as you'll see, the subject is in the first place, the verbs are in the second place, and then the adverb in the next place after that, and then the object, and then in last place, the place adverb. And then sentence word order for questions is just a little bit different. So whether you have just a regular question where you don't have a question word, or you have a question with a question word, you invert the subject and the verb. So for example, with the sentence, Hva kan vi gjøre her I dag? And that means, what can we do here today? So as you'll see, the question word goes first in the sentence, and then the subject and the verb are inverted. So the verb goes in the second place, and then the subject in the third place. And then the next type of sentence word order in Norwegian is the inverted word order. And this is basically used for emphasis on a certain thing. And what you do is you place the place or time adverb or the object in the first place of the sentence, and then the verb, then the subject, and then the adverb, and then the object, and then the place adverb, and then the time adverb. So obviously, whichever one of those that you use at the first part of the sentence, you wouldn't put at the end of the sentence. So basically, you're putting emphasis on whatever is put first in the sentence. And as you'll see there, the subject and the verb are inverted. So let's look at an example where an object is put in the first place. And remember, this is putting emphasis on that object. So for the example, it would be, Epler har dere hjemme. And this sentence means, you all have apples at home. So as you'll see here, the object is put in the first place of the sentence, and then the subject and verb are inverted. And then let's look at the next example. So for this example, it is Nå bør jeg ikke gå til New York. And this means I shouldn't go to New York now. So as you'll see here, the time adverb is put in the first place of the sentence, so you're putting emphasis on now. And next we'll move on to noun gender in Norwegian. So in Norwegian, nouns have one of three genders. There are masculine, feminine, and neuter nouns. Nowadays, though, the feminine isn't used as much as it can be replaced by the masculine, and masculine articles can be used in place of the feminine. But I'll still go over all three so you're aware of all three genders. And in Norwegian, the easiest way to identify the gender of a noun is by its indefinite article. So that's why I'll go over the genders by the indefinite article and then give an example of each gender as a noun. So for masculine nouns, the indefinite article is in. And remember, indefinite articles mean a or an. So an example of this would be in bok, meaning book. For feminine nouns, the indefinite article is I. An example of this would be I mor, meaning mother. And then for neuter nouns, the indefinite article is et. And an example of a neuter noun would be et eple, meaning apple. And then now for indefinite and definite articles in Norwegian. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the gender of Norwegian nouns is usually marked by their indefinite article because that's usually the easiest way to identify the gender of a Norwegian noun. Indefinite articles in English would be a or an, and in Norwegian, in, I, and et. This is pretty self-explanatory, and as I just went over a few examples, let's move on to definite articles. Now, definite articles work a little bit differently in Norwegian than they do in English. They don't have a separate form from the indefinite articles per se. And how definite articles work in Norwegian is that they are added to the end of the noun. So instead of having a separate article in front of the noun, you just take the indefinite article and place it at the end of the noun, except for feminine nouns. So let's go over that. So for masculine nouns, the definite article ending is in, and it's added to the end of the noun. So for example, with the noun in kopp, meaning cup, to say the cup, you would say koppen. For feminine nouns, it's a little bit different. Instead of adding the I indefinite article, you actually add all to the end of the noun, the letter A. So as an example, with the noun I mor, meaning mother, if you wanted to say the mother, you would say mora. For neuter nouns, the ending is et, but something to note is that in Norwegian, when the T is at the end of the word after a vowel, such as with E, then the T is actually silent. And for this example, look at the noun et glas, meaning glass. And to say the glass, you would say glaset. And as you'll see, the T is silent at the end of that word. Now, something else to note is that nouns that end in the letter M get their M doubled in the definite article form. So as an example, with the noun et rum, meaning room, in its definite article form, meaning the room, you would say rummet. And as you'll see, the M there is doubled. Now lastly, let's take a look at forming the plural of nouns in Norwegian. Norwegian nouns have two different forms of the plural, indefinite and definite, just as in English. The definite plural is used to refer to a specific amount or group of things. So for example, when you say the cows in English, you're referring to a specific group or amount of cows. The indefinite plural is used to refer to an unnumbered or unspecified amount of objects or things. An example of this in English would be saying books without an article, and that would just mean that you're referring to an unspecified or unnumbered group of books. So the indefinite and definite plural have their own forms, and they are added to the end of the noun, just like the definite article. For all three genders of nouns, the indefinite plural ending is er, and it's added to the end of the noun. And then the definite plural ending is inne, or ene, and it's also added to the end of the noun. One thing to note when forming the indefinite or definite plural, and also the definite singular for nouns, if the noun already ends in an E, you simply drop off the E and then add the appropriate ending. Now let's take a look at some examples of forming the plural of nouns in Norwegian. The first example is with the noun in butikk, meaning store. And to say these stores, you would say butikkene. And then for the next example, look at the noun et eple, meaning apple. And then to say apples, which would be the indefinite plural, you would say epler. And then the next example, in dog, meaning day, and to say days, which would be the indefinite plural, it would be dager. And then the next example is with the noun I jente, meaning girl. And then to say the girls, which would be the definite plural form, you would say jentene. And as you'll see here, the E is dropped off, and then the ene ending is added for the definite plural. Nouns that end in the letter M get their M doubled in the definite plural, just as in the definite singular. So for example, with the noun et rom, meaning room, it would become romene. Also note that neuter nouns of one syllable do not have per se an indefinite plural article ending, and they essentially stay the same. So basically, you just don't use any articles or endings with these nouns, and that's the indefinite plural form of the noun. So for example, with the noun et glas, meaning glass, in the indefinite plural, to say glasses, you would say glas. And as you'll see here, there's no article used and there's no article ending used on the noun. And the next example is with the noun et bad, meaning bathroom. And the indefinite plural form of this noun would be bad. And as you'll see here, again, there's no indefinite plural article ending added to the noun. Well, that wraps up another Norwegian lesson. I hope you enjoyed watching and that you learned a lot. Please give the video a thumbs up if you did. Follow the Twitter page and like the Facebook page to stay up to date on the channel as well as for more language learning tips and advice. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more Norwegian lessons. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.